Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to CORKWARS. This is Didier, and today I have the pleasure of hosting Jim Gallagher, the wine buyer sommelier at Cole's Chop House here in Napa Valley. And welcome, Jim. Thank you for getting up so early. I know you work like late at night, and well, let's get to it. Jim, why did you become a sommelier?
My primary background in schooling was actually in hotel management.
Okay.
And I worked for Holiday Inns for quite a while. You kind of learn when you work at a hotel, you really don't make any money, until you're up in upper management. So I always kind of waited tables on the side, so I could live.
Yeah.
I started working at the Harvest Inn up in St. Helena. I would hit a winery either on the way into the valley or on the way out of the valley every day, just so I could learn about wine, and I just kind of fell in love.
And how old were you then?
22.
22, all right.
Yeah.
Good. And were you drinking wine before, or did you have any interest in that?
Not really. I mean, growing up, my parents never really drank wine. So not really, and then when I took the job in the valley, it's like, well, what in the world are you going to do up there? I grew up in Vallejo.
Yeah.
I had been to a winery once before I started working up here.
Okay.
And everybody was like, you've got a good job where you're at. What in the world are you doing leaving now? And it was just time to do something different.
So you really came up almost by accident.
More or less.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had was living in Sacramento and really didn't like living there, so I moved back to Vallejo. And my mom had a travel agency in downtown Napa, and one of her clients was the assistant general manager at the Harvest Inn, and he was in one day, and she said, my son works in hotels. Are you hiring? He needs a job.
Yeah.
So I went up, interviewed with him, and started the next week.
Awesome. So this month, you and Chef Greg submitted a couple of dishes and 2 wines to go with it. And the first dish we had was the crab cake with sweet corn and pepper and the whole seed mustard. And with that, you brought and paired with this dish the Mulas Pinot Gris, and this is the 2011 from Sonoma Valley. And tell us a little bit the reasoning beyond that.
It's just kind of a really versatile white wine. I think the sweetness from the white corn that's in the crab cake dish, and even if now that Dungeness crab season is in, you get the sweetness from the crab season, and it's got a nice acid to it, a nice roundness. It's got a little bit of a citrus in the finish that I just think pairs really well, and it's really quite fun.
Yeah. And that's a very, very nice wine. And what is the cost of this wine by the glass at Cole's?
I think it's $8 a glass.
Yeah. Okay, sweet. That's beautiful. Very, very nice wine. I was reading not long ago an article about Zagat, and congratulations. You guys placed third after the French Laundry and Terra, and you placed ahead of Medwood and Auberge du Soleil and Latoc as far as on the wine list, the quality of the wine list. What does that mean for you?
I just think it's very cool. I mean, it's nice to be noticed, and I think to be noticed by Zagat is actually really nice. I was very surprised. We don't really submit the wine list into any of the awards. Greg used to. And it's just I just show up every day. I get to taste great wines, and to be noticed like that is something that's pretty fantastic.
So let's talk a little bit the philosophy of your philosophy and the correlation with the restaurant that you're working in. This is a steakhouse mainly, a lot of meat. And let's talk about the selection of wines. Are there from all over the place, or strictly Californian, or?
Primarily, the wine focuses on Napa Cabernets.
Okay.
Probably 75 to 80% of the selections are Cabernets from Napa. We break the Cabernet part down from Napa AVAs, and then we break it down into the sub-appellations. The wine list, Cabernets range from high 50s to the stratosphere. So hopefully there's something for everybody and for every price range. Since I've come on, I tend to be a Pinot Noir lover. So I brought in a lot more Pinots. I think when I started, there were probably 20, 25 Pinots. Now we have 3 times that. And again, they're broken down: Carneros, Russian River, Santa Rita. We are lucky enough to get a couple bottles of DRC every year.
Yeah, I remember that. By the way, it reminds me like this thing. That was a few years ago. And one of the members from CORKWARS was visiting from the East Coast. And we stopped by your restaurant. I think we took them all.
Yeah, you guys did 3 different vintages. It's like, no, you can't have any more. Sorry. We get 2 bottles of vintage. That's all.
That was awesome, man. That was a great night, I'll tell you what. So if a chef needs the best ingredients to cook, if a winemaker needs the best grapes to make great wines, what are some of you think needs to really be the best?
I'm extremely fortunate to work for Greg. I was very nervous when I first took the job. The first wine list I took over was at a small restaurant called Pilar. And we had 75 selections on the list. Our most expensive bottle of wine was still under $100. And then when I came on with Greg, and the previous wine director, Greg Verts, did an amazing job. And so the first few times I got some big dollar allocations, I would call Greg and say, hey, is it okay to buy this? And finally he was like, Jim, it's your list. If you think it's going to work for the restaurant and you think it's going to sell in the restaurant, then you should buy it. So I've been there almost 6 years now, and I buy what I think works. I'm very fortunate. Even when, the last couple of years with the economy being a little tighter, Greg never said, hey, you're spending too much money. What in the world are you doing? And so I get to buy what I want, do what I want. I see salesmen 2 days a week. I rarely buy something I haven't tasted. Other than the DRCs, but I've been lucky enough to taste them when we open them at the restaurant. I just, working for Greg is fantastic. He's very involved with the restaurant, but he doesn't micromanage. He lets you do your job. He lets you do what he hired you to do.
That's awesome. How big is the restaurant?
I think maximum capacity is 105 with the upstairs and downstairs and another 30 seats outside.
Oh, outside. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we have the little patio.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And, during the summer, we use it on Fridays and Saturdays, so it's not a huge part. It just, it adds another dimension because you're upstairs and the table outside needs you, so you're running up and down the stairs. It's like, oh, Christ, I haven't been outside in a minute,
So because CORKWARS, we really want to emphasize on the wine by the glass program of a restaurant, and I would assume that because you are mainly a steakhouse and mainly meat, it must be fairly easy to pick the wine by the glass, isn't it?
Sometimes it's getting harder and harder to find Zinfandels in that by the glass price range without getting too expensive. Cabernets are easy to find. We're really kind of fortunate being that we're in the middle of Cab Country. Excuse me. And I try to change the wine list quarterly. So I'll do something for 3 months. But we have a really special page, which is our featured wine page, that we try to change every 90 days or so, where we do a full page, talk about the wine, talk about the winemakers. We're getting ready to do another one right now, which is kind of fun. And we try to do things that are less than 500 cases, less than 1,000 cases, something that people aren't going to be able to find back in Omaha. And hopefully give somebody that's kind of small a little bit of attention and help their brand a little bit. If that's for me, would you take a
No,
message?
yeah. I think I believe that was me. So now, if as a customer, if a sommelier was to suggest a bottle of wine, a bit out of your my range, so I'm the guest, and you're a sommelier. What would be the easiest way for me to, without being cheap, look cheap, that that's a little bit too high? What are some of the techniques?
Primarily when I'm talking to somebody about Cabernets on the list, I'll ask them, what kind of a range would you like to be in?
Okay.
I said,
Sure.
Cabernets, start here and go to the stratosphere.
Yeah.
What kind of a range would you like to be in? That way, if they want to get a $50 bottle of wine, they can say, something in this range and point at it. So maybe they're not letting their guests know, or you're not trying to call them out saying, well, Christ, really? You only want to spend $50?
Yeah.
But we have wines on the list in that price range for people like that.
Yeah.
And the wine list is intimidating. I mean, I've got 200 Cabernets on the list.
Yeah.
So unless you can know a little bit about a few of them, and then, if somebody picked something that they can get at the grocery store at home, I'm like, well, if you like that style, why don't you look at something like this that's a little bit smaller production. It's something you won't be able to get at home.
Yeah.
And then you can get to try something new.
Yeah.
I'm a huge advocate of, why would you come all the way out to the Napa Valley and drink something that you can get at home?
Yeah, true. Yeah. So knowing that, what do you think that as far as corkage policy, do you find out that a lot of people bring their own wines in a restaurant just because they kind of want a void of, people may have the perception of like overpaying for a bottle of wine, so what do you have a corkage policy at the restaurant?
Our corkage policy is $25 a bottle. If you purchase something from the list, we waive bottle for bottle.
Okay.
Corkage is what it is.
Yeah.
It used to be for people to bring in something very cool, something from their cellar that they're not going to find on the list.
Yeah.
And it's kind of gotten away from that.
Is that right? Yeah.
But hopefully they're going to have a cocktail, or maybe a little bit of white wine to start with.
Yeah.
So it all evens out.
Yeah. And is there like a maximum you can bring, or no, really? Does that piss you off a little bit? Don't you feel like people sometimes abuse it?
Yeah. Why do you need to bring in 7 bottles for 3 people? That kind of baffles me every once in a while.
Yeah.
But we want you to have some too. It's like, guys, I would love to, but I'm working. And there's a set of stairs that I have to go up and down 40 or 50 times today.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I've seen like in the past, and especially I was working for a private country club, and sometimes even people for to avoid paying corkage, they were hiding the bottles under the table. Can be sneaky.
We had a woman dragging a wine bag behind her, and they had a bottle of. I think they had a bottle of Quintessa. So they had been tasting at Quintessa. And I had decanted it and started to take the bottle away. And she says, no, go ahead and leave that. And I'm like, okay, no problem. If you want to sit it on the table and let people see what you're drinking, great. And they were at the table, if you know how we're set up, right in front of the kitchen. So they're right in front of everybody. And all of a sudden, I see her reach under the table, and she's got one of our big Cole steak knives. And she's trying to figure out how to get the cork out of another bottle with the steak knife. And, I kind of walked around and I reached down and grabbed the bottle. I'm like, I'd be really glad to open that for you. And she just froze. And I'm like, it's kind of hard to do it with the knife. I have an opener. It's okay.
There is he has a key.
And she's like sneaking the empty one back into the bag like we're not going to notice or know what's going on. It's pretty funny.
That's very interesting. The extent of like saving $25 and that's too bad. So
we have half bottles on the list that are $24, $25, $26. So even if they don't want to drink a second bottle, they can take the half bottle home with them. And then that way they're not, throwing away the $25.
So, but then what is that? What do you think people are reacting like that? I mean, they're coming up, they're coming up from across the country. They spend, a couple of $1,000 for the weekends and all that. They go to wineries. Most of the time, they still have to pay $100 to do the tasting, which is normal. And then after that, they go to a restaurant and try to sneak out some bottles of wine under the table and just save $25. Isn't it crazy?
No idea.
I don't know. So Thursday is Thanksgiving. What are you gonna do?
We go up to some friends in Calistoga every year. We've been doing it for the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
So there's usually 10 or 12 of us, and we just kind of hang out and have dinner and drink rosé most of the day and see what everybody brings in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yum.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious about this red wine. You guys can talk
Yeah.
about it.
So
It's really good.
So this
And
one
you
year.
gotta do it so I can get it on camera there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this one year was served with a 5-spice roasted duck with a plum and ginger reduction and a red wine, red cabbage.
Braised cabbage.
And you picked a wine from outside Napa Valley.
Mm-hmm.
This is a blend.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that the wine is made by Sir David Remy, which, by the way, will be joining ToutSuite in a couple of weeks from now. So check out our calendar and join us. Let's talk about this one a little bit.
It's just a really fun blend. It's Syrah, Malbec, Mourvedre. I think there's a little Grenache. There's even a little bit of Zinfandel. It's a little bit softer style red. It's very versatile. I think with the 5-spice that they've rubbed the duck with, it's really amazing. And it's got some depth and some jamminess to it, which kind of counterbalances the braised cabbage with the acid in the cabbage. So I think it's a really great pairing for that. And it's a cool wine. It's just a lot of fun.
And this one is a little bit, reminds me a little bit the concept of a very, very, very popular one that was the Prisoner, and that's more like, a field blend. And it's pretty interesting. And the cost of this one by the glass is what?
$12.
$12. Oh, that's very nice. That's very nice. So, and this is the Brassfield winery making this thing from the High Valley appellation. This is a 2011 Eruption. So that's a pretty cool name.
How could you not buy a bottle of wine that says Eruption on the label? Is kind of what I thought. But it's good. I mean, I like it a lot. I think it's a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I think the winery is out of it, so I just got my last case.
Oh, is that right? That was it? All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you won't be able to buy from me then. Sorry. So under $20, those are some of the wines you will be bringing if you were to go and shine with your family, for Thanksgiving, for instance. Besides rosé, you bring some wine that, you don't want to spend too much money. And is that the style of wine you want to bring, or you're looking more for the rosé you were mentioning earlier? Or?
Actually, I think the rosé that we're going to take on Thanksgiving is it's a Grenache rosé from South America.
Okay. Well.
One of my absolute favorite rosés is $5.99 a bottle at Trader Joe. It's the one that's got the little goat on the label.
Uh-huh.
It's one of the Perrin family wines from Beaucastel.
Okay.
And it's what in the world is it called? Lavelle Ferme.
Vieille Ferme. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they do a white, a rosé, and a red, and the rosé's killer.
$5.99.
$5.99 bottle.
Any questions?
And great with Chinese takeout.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's awesome. And one more question for you, my friend. What is the thing that really drives you nuts on the floor?
On a busy Saturday night, working the floor is chaotic anyways. Yeah. So, and it's always kind of a dance, everybody moving around and thank goodness that Kohl's, the tables aren't super close together because I'm not a delicate flower moving around the dining room, for goodness sake. but other people not paying attention, I think, and we do back into people because, you're pouring wine at a table and you kind of back away.
Yeah.
So you're hoping that eye you have in the back of your head is working enough where you can feel somebody's presence back there. There's not really, we all have our little restaurant pet peeves, and, hopefully they don't show too much when you're on the floor.
Well, so what are the hours of the restaurant?
We serve dinner 7 nights a week. We open up at 5 o'clock. During the week, we close at 9. On the weekends, we take our last reservations at 9:45, 10 o'clock.
And 24, but you're going to be closed on Thursday.
We are closed on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
We'll be open for the rest of the weekend. Kohl's closes 4 days a year. We're closed 4th of July, Super Bowl Sunday,
Oh, is that right?
Christmas and Thanksgiving. Yeah.
He's a good boss.
You gotta mention the happy hour Grey Goose martinis.
During Sunday through Thursday at the bar, we do have $6 Grey Goose cocktails, which is always fantastic. And
I love the place for that.
And our guys behind the
Just for
bar,
that.
Kyle and Talani behind the bar are phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Great bartenders. Yeah, I really enjoy the atmosphere. This is a beautiful bar too. Yeah. I mean, that's dark wood and rich, and definitely has this feeling of a steakhouse, but very, very high ceiling. You can breathe. This is beautiful. Open kitchen. I mean, that's beautiful.
It's Greg and his wife Beth.
Yeah.
Did most of the designs in the restaurant, and they did an amazing job. It's a beautiful space.
And this is like some kind of a historical building.
Yeah, it's 3 bays, the same size as Kohl's. One is another restaurant which just opened up last night.
Oh, is that right?
Torque.
Okay.
And then us, and then in the middle they've got it split up.
Okay.
Because originally it was an exhibition hall for the Napa Valley Fair. And then it's been it was a ducky bowling alley during the 40s, like the skee ball.
Yeah.
It's been a grocery store. It's been law offices.
Yeah.
Right prior to Kohl's, it was the Napa Valley vacuum store.
Yeah.
So it's been lots of different stuff for us.
That's awesome. So, Jim, thank you very much for joining us and give us a bit more of a idea for what is Kohl's and the philosophy of your philosophy, and that's fantastic. You seem to be working with a great, owner and a great chef, and
amazing.
I know, some of the Cork Warriors made a dish and I really, love it. So that's fantastic.
They've got some pictures posted on Facebook.
Yeah. We have some pictures posted on Facebook, and that's great. You're still running a little bit behind, though. Press is still leading the charge. Sorry, guys. So, but you do they
have more Facebook fans.
You have like a few more days, and I don't know, like call your family to vote on the just this is it. Well, thank you very much for ToutSuite for allowing CORKWARS to do this quick 20 minutes here. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you. Have a great holiday.
And see you at cocktail time. Until maybe next year. We'll do it again.
I hope so.
Great.
Thanks so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Bye.